15th, 2012. Kevin, do we have any administrative, anything? Nothing?
Nothing, no.
Okay, thank you. Appeal 2868, the applicant Bruce Strattenberg and Lisa Cohn, property located at 230 South Wayne Avenue, Wayne, Pennsylvania, and zoned R3 residential. Applicant seeks relief to construct an addition to the rear of their home, which is closer to the property line than the required side yard setback. Applicant seeks a variance from section 28025D1 of the code relating to the side yard and aggregate side yards. This was continued from February meeting.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I do. Lisa Cohn. Thank you.
And Lisa, you're co-owner of the property with your husband,
Yes, I am.
and he's away looking at colleges.
He's on the way to Ohio looking at colleges.
Now, I'm going to hand up to the board. You may recall, I think this is either the third or fourth time we've been before the board on this. We started with, I believe, asking for 7 feet. Then last time, 8.5 feet. And basically, some direction we got from the board was to have it no closer than the prior zoning relief, which was 10 feet. That's okay. So I've marked as A12. I'll just hand up as A12. This is a new plan that replaces the old site plan, which actually shows the proposed addition being 10 feet from the property line, which would be at the same distance as the prior zoning relief granted in the 1990s.
This is A12. You already marked it. Okay.
And you may recall last time we said we would look into whether we can do it at 10 feet. And in fact, what we did is we just moved the proposed addition back about 1.5 feet. So it's still the 10 feet on the side property line, and we just extended the addition back toward the rear yard 10 feet, which moved it back 1.5 feet.
Nick, can you put that up on the table?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
As you see before you, you see the prior Yeager addition existing, which is 10 feet from the property line. Proposed addition is slanted back so that it is no closer than 10 feet from the proposed property line, and that it goes back, we've measured it as 10 feet from the rear of the house to the end of the proposed addition.
Yeah, it is. I've marked it A12. Yes. Is that it?
Yeah, that's all I would have. Okay. Just, as I said, we've had 3 other hearings, so I was
Yeah, we're pretty well versed.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyone on the board have any questions? Anyone in the audience have any input they'd like to put in this? Nick?
Okay. I requested exhibits be made part of the record.
Corey, you want to do this one, please?
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend to give the variance for the requested variance what he has asked for relating to the side yards and the aggregate side yards.
I concur. I believe because of the configuration of the property, and there is definitely a hardship for granting the variance.
We have gone through that.
and the improvement must conform to the drawings that were A12 drawings that we have.
I
Tim?
agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Okay, thank you. Appeal 2873, the applicant John Riley, property located at 381 Grange Road, Wayne, Pennsylvania, and zoned R4 residential. Applicant seeks relief to construct an addition to their home which will encroach into the required front and side yard setbacks. Applicant seeks a variance from section 28030C and section 28030D, and this is also continued from February.
Yes. Norma?
Rebecca Riley.
John Riley.
And again, this was before the board previously. My understanding was that there were some questions raised about creation of hardship and things of that nature. I'll address that and then show you some more pictures and exhibits that we would have on this matter. John, I'm not certain where we are on exhibits on this. Do you have any idea?
Just give me a quick second.
Sure. Yeah, they may not have been marked. Remember, I was not, yeah.
Yeah, you weren't, he
Yeah.
was unrepresented, and,
Right.
So why don't we just start from the beginning?
yeah.
Okay, I guess the first thing we probably have is the deed, I would assume, in there somewhere.
Well, there's actually a couple of these here.
Oh, okay, I think they were from the other
Do you-
properties.
Nick, do you have the original packet? Would you like to see
Yeah,
it?
you have it.
Back of the A1.
You can have it.
Do you want to make the application A1, John? Want to do that? I normally mark the application, I don't know, it's up to you guys.
Fountain pen. We're going to make the application A1.
Yeah.
Okay. And it looks like I see a letter here that looks like it says zoning application, which actually explains it. We can mark that A, now there's a couple.
Yeah.
You want to make, we'll mark that as A2. Which is a letter from Mr. Rowell just basically explaining.
Is that the one that's zoning hearing board, zoning application?
It
Is that
says
what you're
zoning
talking about?
application, it's like a page.
Dated 17 January?
That's correct,
Okay, so that's A2?
A2. Oh, and actually, you know, that's all part of his application, just looking
Yeah,
at it.
I think it is.
Yeah, so you just make everything A1 for that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, the plans are part of the application as well. I think maybe since we have a couple of letters
Right.
here, just to break it, and it's up to you, Mr. Chairman, maybe breaking it up. Whatever you want, Mr. Chairman.
3. All right. I've got 6 pages equal A1, okay?
That's fine.
So I'm going to mark them 1 to 6, okay? So at least we know 6 pages are A1.
Can you give me a quick change on the second mark, so mark one? Okay, we have A1.
Okay, and I got the letter from Dan Malloy, we'll call it A2.
Was there a letter from Dan?
Yeah. And that was a subdivision application from 2007.
Actually, I thought that was page A16.
Well, all right, no, okay, I have the zoning board page is 1, and then the handwritten pages is 2, and 3 is check marks,
Yeah.
4 is the signature of the applicant, 5 is the zoning hearing board page, and 2 is the second zoning hearing board page.
I was going to suggest, Mr. Chairman, that there's a deed from the Calvareses to Riley, which is actually the deed to his property. I suggest perhaps we make that as A2.
You want to make that one A2?
Yeah, that's actually his deed.
What do we do with the,
I was going to make that as A3. There's another deed here.
what about the Malloy letter?
The Malloy letter.
Is eight,
I didn't even see.
Yeah, Malloy, the subdivision letter? Okay, A2. Okay, and then you have 2 deeds?
2 deeds, I would suggest that we mark the actual deed to Mr. Riley as A3. And then there's a deed from Riley to DeSerafino.
Okay.
And that's that subdivision plan, which we'll talk about in a minute. That'll be A4.
Okay,
And it looks like there's 2 pictures here.
yep, and they're together, so we're
Yeah,
going to
just
call
make
them
them
A5.
A5.
Yep.
There's 3 pictures, I believe.
Yeah, 3 pictures. The pictures are all A5.
I have 2, for the record. Do you have a third one?
Yeah, there's 3. Is that your property too? No, it's not yours, it's neighbor. I think on A5, the first property with the car in the drive.
Yes.
And the woman standing on the front lawn, that's his house. The second picture is with
I'll take
the,
them off the other one. Okay,
the second picture with the Adidas soccer backstop. That kind of shows his
Yeah.
side yard there. It's not all his, but
Okay.
I think
okay, they're A5,
probably-
the 3 pictures are A5.
Right. And then A6, I guess, would be the site plan for 381 Grange. Looks like they're, yeah. A6 would actually be, it looks like the engineered,
Architect and engineer.
yeah, one's an engineered, yes, surveyed.
Right,
So that'd be A6.
And that's A6?
And then we'll make the architect, which is the second sheet on that, as A7. And it looks like, was this part of it too?
It's the subdivision.
what's
Yeah.
this one?
And then there's a large subdivision plan. We'll just make that as A8.
To get one.
Don't you want these for your file?
So we're at A8 is the last exhibit.
Yes,
Okay. So I'll mark as A9, and this really is just to show the board. Remember, there was talk last time of a self-created hardship, and we just want to show the board what the subdivision, that prior subdivision had done. And what I did is, in yellow,
can I have 2, please? One I'm going to put in a file and on play with, thanks.
in yellow is the current property that he owns, and in red was the previous property. And you know, notice there's a point there.
Nick, if you could put it up on the table, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. See if I can find one that's marked. Charlie, can I
one back?
borrow? Yeah. As I mentioned, the yellow shows the current property and the red shows the previous property. And what they did is this area here, which is referred to parcel A, was actually deeded to the Serafinos. That's the deed that we saw in there. And in exchange for that, they obtained that property from the Calvareses in the rear there that you see. You'll notice that the existing house under the old subdivision was very non-conforming as to the rear yard setback. By subdividing it, in fact, what they did is they increased the setback so that it complied on the rear yard setback. But also notice that this point here, the corner of the property remains the same, and that's where we're actually measuring the current setback from that corner, which didn't change between the two subdivisions. So again, there was an issue, I know, that there was a self-created hardship, and in fact, nothing has really changed regarding that, except for the fact that it now complies with the rear yard setback and will continue to comply. So that point there, that corner, still remains, and in fact, at that time, it was a rear yard setback, which would require 30 feet. Now it's a side yard setback, which only requires 12 feet. Remember here, too, the relief being requested, they comply with a 12-foot setback. What they don't comply with is the aggregate yard, because on the one side, it's only approximately 18 feet, and so that's where it doesn't comply. It complies with the 12-foot setback. If you look at the site plan, but where it doesn't comply is with the aggregate. Let's see if I can find that site plan.
What's your side yard on the west? Is it the west? Where's the north arrow? Yeah, on the west?
West side.
This, here,
Yeah,
where it says 11 point...
No, that's the east side, right? 11.3 and 3/8.
Right.
That's the east side. On the west side.
On the west side is 13 feet.
They don't have that.
Yeah, I'm going to hand up. You don't have this exhibit yet. I'm going to hand up a 10,
No,
which better describes. I think if you look at A10, I
no,
think
you got to
a better
use it.
feel
He's got two.
for what we're dealing
Oh,
with.
you got more. Okay, I didn't know that. So he's got 11, 11, and Is it written somewhere that 13 feet?
Yes.
Where I'm looking at the,
Yeah, I'm handing up this A10, and I'll get around to all of them. These were handed to me just a second ago. And I have enough for everybody.
oh, so that's revised. This is a different one.
This is revised.
Okay, that's why we can't find it.
Yeah, and this is actually the one that kind of describes what's going on.
So I'm going to take the A10 that I have and take it out and put this one in its place?
I don't think we have an A10. This is, I've marked this as new, but it does replace whatever you had.
Yeah, there was two pieces. There was this one that I marked A10, and
It looks like it would replace A7, right?
so,
A7, yes. You want to replace A7 with it, right? Not A, you don't want to make this, you want to
Yeah,
make this
replace
A10, or you want to replace A7?
Correct.
And we're going to make this one now A7.
Oh, you want to make it A7?
Yeah, we'll make it A7.
I would,
How about we make it A7A? So they know that it's A7A.
oh, 13.2.
Okay, Nick?
Got it. And you'll notice here the setback there, it is shown as the 13-foot setback.
13 feet 2 inches?
They're 13 flat.
13 flat.
Yep, there.
From that corner.
Right.
Which is now a side yard. Remember, the old plan, actually, that would have been a rear yard, but now it's a side yard on the new subdivision. And
So he's looking for,
so really, as I said, we comply with it. The requirement is 12 feet, but where we need relief is on the aggregate. And then you'll see that dotted line that comes down. That dotted line is the area of the nonconformity based on the aggregate, that kind of half moon that comes down through the shaded area. That's the area that is not in compliance with the aggregate setback.
Nick, help me out. What are the two side yard setbacks that you're, what's the one that you already have on the east and what are you asking for on the west?
Currently, it's 11 on the east side. It's 11 feet, 3.5 inches. The requirement for aggregate, that is
And that 11.3 isn't existing.
that's existing.
Right, so you're really, your problem is the aggregate.
Our problem is the aggregate,
Right. So you're asking for relief on the aggregate.
on the aggregate, not on the.
And
remember-
what is that thing you're building? What is that? Is that a garage? Is that a
It's a
part of it?
garage.
It's a garage?
And there's a room up top, but basically it's a garage. That's the reason for the width that we need on this.
Mr. Cornelius? Is this, if I correctly, just to visualize color and yellow, is that correct? The area is, that's correct.
Kevin, is there a code, a minimum width of a garage?
Nothing in our codes, no. Not from a zoning standpoint.
What is normal
how about
width
from
of a garage?
Sorry.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to, Mark, actually, maybe it'll help you a little bit. Because what we did is I had John take some photographs of his car and with the doors open. And basically you can see the car with the doors open, and I'll mark this would be A10.
Do you know the last time I got in and out of my car with the doors wide open? And when it's in the garage?
You have 3 small children? they don't really know.
You're, so.
But I'll mark as A10. Again, it just shows A10 and A11. Actually, A10 shows the car with the doors open, and we put a peak measure on it, actually. I'll mark that as A11. And again, I apologize for not having these pre-marked, but as I said, they were handed to me as we walked up.
Looks to me that the effect of the subdivision on the side yard, it makes you much more compliant in the rear yard, but it does create a little lower part of that shaded area. Probably compliant, but you still have the property that you,
I see what you mean. Because of that, because it's set, yeah. We're still, yeah.
there's some issue created by the subdivision, but the applicant is right that the subdivision swap to solve more problems that were created in the aggregate.
Yeah, and in fact, if you look at A7A, there's a shaded area off to the right with a little cloud that says buildable area prior to subdivision. That's the area they would have been able to build in by right prior to the subdivision. So under the first subdivision, that buildable area prior to subdivision, that was their buildable area. So they had a vastly non-conforming lot prior to the subdivision.
This is on old A7?
A7A. It's the cloud most to the bottom on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
It says buildable area prior to subdivision.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, you have the most of the area, that, if I'm looking at A7A correctly, is within the front yard setback anyway. So you added a side yard, but for the lower part of the shaded area, at least most of that would be in the front yard setback
Yeah,
anyway.
but it's already an existing
Yeah,
nonconformity
that, okay,
there.
it's the non-conformity, it is going
Yeah.
into the.
The closest
okay,
point
you're
on the
right.
front yard, again, is
You're
14
okay.
feet 9 inches, and we're going to be 16 feet
Okay.
1.5 inches.
So the effect of the subdivision swap was to place the lower part of the shaded area on A7A, closest to Grange Road, out of compliance in exchange for bringing the rear into compliance.
Correct.
Hey, Nick, you have a 16-foot wide garage, okay, so and you're asking for almost 6 feet, 6 feet off of the aggregate. I'm more comfortable, and I'm speaking for myself, I'm more comfortable with making that 15 feet on that side, so you 2 foot less garage. That's me personally. I'm talking for myself. You know, it's our job to give the minimum amount of relief. You know, we understand that. You know, you have to also understand that what you did enhanced the property a little bit, but it is a little bit of a self-inflicted wound here. You know, you picked up 2 apples, but you gave away an orange. And again, I'm talking for me.
I'm sorry, what are we labeled? Oh,
These
these
are
are,
A10 and A11. A10,
did an A10, didn't we? No, we did not. We did not.
No, we made that one A7A.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Forgive me.
A10 shows the, basically car doors open. It's not a real wide car. It's not a Suburban or anything of that nature. It shows the car with the doors open and what the minimum distance, just to clear, is 12 feet too. And then you put cinder block in, so you have 6-inch cinder block, so that's another foot. It really is unusable because it's measured from the outside. So you have
Yeah,
one
but you
foot-
only got cinder block on one side,
Not
because you're
the-
using the house on the other side.
Go ahead, do it. I asked him that.
The design is to have walls on both sides. That will be a foot of total wall space.
Why? Why are you doing that?
So that we can put up drywall and frame it out on the east side.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you just use the existing wall? Why give up the room? Why give up the 6 inches?
For noise,
That's up to you. You know, I mean, you already have insulation between the outside wall and the inside drywall already. You already have insulation and
we don't. It's not an insulated wall. These houses were built prior to, and there's not enough room for the insulation.
and it'd probably be cheaper for you to get someone to blow it in than it would be to build a wall. And plus, you're going to pick up 6 inches. You know, it's your call. You know, I'm not here to tell you how to design your house. I have a hard enough time with my own.
Yeah, one thing too, and they were here last time, the neighbors are here in support of the application on both sides of the property, both the owner of the house that's most affected as well as the house on the other side as well. As we said, the garage itself is 16 feet wide.
Exterior to.
Exterior,
Yeah.
which leaves you basically 15. Now, if you're going to put up 6-inch block.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it.
Okay. 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 Why are you laughing?
No, I was not laughing at you. they need to go and take another continuance and get it right, maybe they need to take a continuance and get it right. I know we're chewing this cabbage a lot, but. Yeah.
I'm sorry, they're still out there discussing. And I just want to make certain, too, the 15-foot comment that you made, was that the width of the garage that we were talking about? Or?
No,
No, what we're saying is,
15-foot side back.
feet.
Right.
We need 15.
You need
2
15.
feet.
No.
We're at a 14-foot garage.
So you're trying to cut it basically 2 feet.
Correct.
We're 2 feet, that's right.
So it'd be pretty much a 14-foot garage.
Correct.
Yeah, so
Well,
they're saying
it
15
would
from the
really be
property. You're saying
14.6
15
because
from
you'd
the
say the
property
6
line.
inches on a block.
Correct.
Yeah, just so you kind of, it's our job as the zoning board to grant the minimum of relief that we feel that's necessary for you to complete your project because of hardships.
I understand that, and I would like you all to know that this is a decision that we have put a lot of time into, years of consideration, And I understand you did your job, but this is the next 30 years of our life that you're basically deciding.
We're talking about 1.5 feet, is what,
Well,
in essence, that's
the
what we're
zoning-
talking about.
You're talking about the rest of my life.
We're deciding, we're trying to help you.
I
The zoning rules
understand.
say
I
you can't,
respect what you have
the
to do.
zoning rules say you can't do what you want to do,
I understand.
even what we're willing to let you do.
I understand. And I'm sure some of you up there have families, so.
Next.
Actually, by cutting it to 15, I mean, at the opening is where it has its most effect. And then, of course, as you get back, as you see the bubble there, I think you have it there as to what.
Nick, what happens if you move the whole thing back some? Because it looks like it pulls away, so it's further in the back than it is in the front?
Yeah, if we moved it back, I mean, the only thing about moving it back is at least it would cut off some of the square footage that's non-compliant. You moved it back a couple feet. See, because right,
No, I'm not worried about
You
the square
wouldn't be able
footage.
to
I'm
put
just
this
saying
back.
if he, it looks like it goes on an angle away, so if he moves the garage back, he may pick up more space.
But the biggest impact is right there.
yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying.
That's where the corner is the biggest.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right here. If you, but then you're, by doing that, well,
Yeah, but that
you're
would be-
cutting, at least you're decreasing the square footage that's non-compliant by moving it back.
No, the issue is, it's the aggregate that's the issue. I mean, you're asking for a six-foot relief in the aggregate. That's a lot. You know, I mean, that's,
If we go back, what's the principle behind the rule
no,
for the
I didn't,
aggregate?
you know, I always thought that the way the line was running by, I thought the line ran away if you moved it, but it doesn't, because where you hit is almost in the middle, it's not in the back. See, if it was just at the front corner and you moved it back, you know, but it's not. You're short, your 13 feet happens in the middle, it's that corner.
Right. I mean, there's a little bit in the front, but the biggest area is in
In the back.
middle.
In the middle, yeah. You know. I mean, I'm talking for me, you know, the rest of the board may have a different opinion.
What is this photograph?
Yeah, that just shows if the doors are open.
Both sides
How
of the
much both
car,
sides of the
12
car?
feet, corner to corner.
That's our existing crossover with the doors open.
Okay.
And what we're saying is that's
And
12
that's
foot.
12 feet.
12 foot.
With the doors wide
2.5
open on
inches,
both sides.
Doors wide open. And what I'm trying to show in the second scenario is
Then you don't have this picture, I'll just show you.
3 kids in the back seats. The scenario is she gets out of the back car, opens the door, gets the baby, another baby comes. We need room to be able to go by. We're not asking for a lot beyond that. We're asking for a foot and a half beyond those car doors scraping the walls, which in my mind isn't egregious.
You know, we're giving you 14 feet to the outside, so we're giving you almost what you're asking for. If that's 12 feet, is that 12 feet? Right? And we're giving you,
Well, you're at least 13.2. If you count again, well, even if you count it on one side, you're almost at 14, 13.8, if you count, or 12.8. Yeah, I'll just mark as A12. This was just
And you see also there where our bikes are stored in the back. We've got to get bikes past. I mean, we want a usable garage. We're not asking for a monstrosity here. Our family is this neighborhood, and we just want a usable garage. We don't feel if you cut us down to a 14-foot exterior garage, that allows for daily life with 3 children. That's where we are. So if you can make that number a 15-foot exterior garage, we beg you.
Mr. Chairman, I would also recommend that 15 feet and let it settle over here. If anybody else agrees with me, 15 feet.
It's up to the board. What does everyone feel they want to do? You got to make the recommendation what you want, and then we'll vote on it. I mean, we're not going to.
I know.
I'm not going to negotiate against ourselves.
Can you give up 6 inches and remove that interior block wall?
What?
Yeah, well, they don't need the interior block wall. I know that for a fact.
Then you go 14 and a half.
Yes. It's the architect.
I'm the architect.
You need to be sworn in. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, I do.
And state your name correctly.
Joe Mackin. Joe Mackin.
And spell Mackin.
M-A-C-K-I-N.
Joe, we talked about the interior block walls, and
Yeah.
we talked a little bit out in the hallway.
Yeah.
Could you just
Yeah.
tell the board what we
The
discussed?
first floor of the house, the first floor walls are constructed of a double white brick, and then furring to the inside, so the brick is load-bearing. At this early stage in the project, we really don't want to assume that we're able to add more weight, more load to that exterior wall. So at this point, it's safer to assume that we're able to build a new wall inside of that wall to carry the additional weight that
You could
we're
also
creating.
build 2 columns on either side and go up with a right.
Yes.
And because you got to put
We
a column.
could, but we'd
you
also
gotta-
like to insulate at the same time, to
Yeah.
the prior point of not having that
Yeah.
within the wall.
Sometimes you can't always have what you want. Unfortunately, I'm just
Sure.
trying to.
I'm coming from an ideal
And again,
perspective.
it's our job to give the minimum amount of relief. Everyone has a situation. That's why they're in front of us, and we try and accommodate them as much as this board can do that without setting a precedent that everybody that comes in front of us, we love to give everybody everything they want. Unfortunately, then the township would not be Radnor any longer. It would just be, a bunch of row houses everywhere, and I don't think that's what we were appointed to do, unfortunately.
But allowing the minimum is being reasonable, correct?
That's what we're doing.
allow
We're giving them the minimum that we feel is necessary for them to, that we can give.
Yeah, the board does, a very good job. We treat all applicants the same, and this is a salient part of the law. This isn't something we make up. It doesn't even come out of while it's reflected in the Radnor Code, it's a matter of state law that directs this. So, they are doing their job. The board's doing its job fairly for everybody. And that's the goal here.
Can I ask the kind of the premise of the principle behind the aggregate? Is that
It's just what the code says.
Yeah. We don't. This
That's
board.
not-
We don't,
yeah.
we don't make the code.
Oh,
All we do is we grant relief where we feel we can grant relief to the code. And it's either by special exception or by a variance. Variances are granted based on a greater hardship than special exceptions are. So, technically, if you don't have a hardship, and a hardship isn't financial or because, we want to open the doors or because we don't want to see the neighbor next door, they aren't hardships. They're creature comforts, and that's not things that we can really look at, okay? The other thing that comes in play with yours, unfortunately, is this is a hardship that was induced by you by getting rid of next door. If you hadn't gotten rid of it, but then you would have had a problem in the back. So you're kind of, doing what you did improves your property, And I know that sometimes we don't look like, we're really great guys and women, but, we have to do with what we're charged with. And we just can't nilly-willy start granting stuff because somebody would like to do it. So what we try and do is we try and compromise the situation as best that we could do. And that's where, we say, well, what do we think they can live with the minimum? We're not working with maximums. We have to go with the bare minimum that we feel you can do what you can do based on your hardship. And that's where I came up with my thought process of 14 feet. I felt that as though, by taking 2 feet off, the aggregate is under 5 feet, all right? And it's in the 4-foot range, which we feel we're comfortable giving. When we start to give too much, then we all get in trouble. And why did you give George it and not give Harry? And that's just not the way it works.
Another thing that you need to understand is that the board is not, it has no authority to, judge the wisdom or judge whether something's a good idea. It has to follow the ordinance and it has to follow the law. And in a variance case, it has to follow the law. And there is some ability for relief, but not just on the, it's a nice idea with the hardship element isn't there, or if you're giving too much to alleviate the hardship. The board has real constraints on what it can do here.
That's what, do you want to talk, or? Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, Nick?
Okay. We would, our request would be that the setback be held at 14 feet 6 inches. That would give us a 14.5-foot garage as well. If we held the setback at 14.6 as opposed to 14. It's tight. You saw, Charlie, obviously we've been meeting a long time. I thank everyone for their patience on this, obviously. It's a big concern. It's a big decision for this family.
Questions? I mean, I'm one person here. Brad?
So 14 feet 6 inches would be
So instead of 13 feet, you're going to be at 14.6?
Yeah.
And that gives you an aggregate of
Be
what's your
14.6.
aggregate? What's your aggregate now?
Yeah. So the aggregate would be 25.9. Probably that, I assume that corner is supposed to be 12 feet, but
I'm sorry, you're going to decrease the width of the garage from 16 feet to what?
14 and a half feet, which would mean we would keep the setback then, we would be no closer than 14 and a half feet to the property line.
So, yeah, but it's really, what we're dealing with is the aggregate.
Yeah, but I'm
That's the
talking
aggregate,
about
because you're
this.
already past the 12.
Yeah, I'm
right?
talking about-
And you already have,
We're in compliance with 12.
right,
yeah.
you're in compliance with the 12, and the other one is pre-existing, so you're okay there. So it's really the aggregate
Right.
that we're dealing with. So
Right.
we have to deal with what the aggregate number is, not what the side yard.
Oh, I understand that, but I'm just
Right.
saying, but for the plan purposes, for, Kevin, when he reviews the plan, he's going to want to know, I think, how far from the
So
property
he's
line.
also going to add up the aggregate.
Oh, yeah, but he's going to have to know how far from the
Okay.
property
Yeah,
line.
I think the aggregate at 14 and a half feet setback from the west property line is 25 feet, 8 3/8 inches, according to
The drawings.
measurements, according to the drawings. 25 feet, 8 3/8 inches, which means they're looking for a variance from the aggregate of 4 feet, 1 5/8 inches, if my math's right.
And remember, too, though, when you look at the plan also, A7A, we're measuring that aggregate from the closest point.
Which is what you're supposed to do.
Yes, I'm not
Which
saying-
is what you're supposed to do.
But it does-
Not from the furthest point.
I agree. I'm not saying I don't, but you can consider the fact that it does go back, and actually complies, as it goes further back. But you're right, the code says it's measured from the closest point.
Going forward, if you come into, you get closer to Green Road, we have more.
Now, we're measuring from the closest point to Green.
Right, because unfortunately, the closest point is the middle. And if
On the
closest-
west side, yeah.
On the west side. Brad, questions? Anything? Input?
This is it? You guys are ready for us to vote on this? Yeah. So make sure we're doing right.
Just request the exhibits be made part of the record, please.
Peter, do you have anything to say?
Well, I just don't think it's a hardship to require that much variance. I mean, there really is no hardship at all. You could live without a garage. So this is really extending it beyond my comfort level.
Jim?
I don't have any questions.
We're in a question phase now, we're not voting yet, right?
Yeah, we're not voting yet. Nope, we're questioning.
I changed my earlier request to make it 14 feet. I can go with that 14 and a half. I understand, I agree with Peter, it was not any hardship behind this application. However, my feeling is that, it is for a good new unit there with that extension. So it will be an asset for the community. With a proper.
Is there anyone in the audience that has any comments?
I know the neighbors are here. I know they have no objection, I think. They was just standing up.
You need to come up and voice that.
Yeah, if they're going to voice them, then they got to be sworn in.
If you'll all just raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. You do solemnly swear or affirm this testimony about to give the truth and truth. And your names for the record and spell.
Bruce Hugg, H-U-G.
Sunil Menon,
And spell.
S-U-N-I-L, Menon, M-E-N-O-N.
Lap Hong, H-O-A-N-G. Lap is L-A-P.
And maybe if you guys could just say where you live, you know, an address.
Sure. 383 Grange Road, and no objections.
381A Grange Road, and I'm on the eastern side. Absolutely no objections.
385 Grand Road, absolutely no objection.
Is that, it's on your side? This
Same side, same side.
It's on my
Oh,
side.
that's your side. You have no problem with that?
Absolutely not.
You're asking us to vote on, can me please tell us exactly what you want, because this is going to be,
Right. If you measure it as the aggregate, I believe it would be 25 feet, 9.5 inches. I'm looking, it looks like it says 11 feet, 3.5 inches on A7A on the right side.
Right. 11 and 3/8 inches plus 14.
11 and 3/2, 11, oh, I'm sorry.
11 feet, 3.5 inches.
3.5, okay.
So we're asking that it be an aggregate of 25 feet, 9.5 inches would be the aggregate, which would make it, at least on that one, on the western property line, 14.5 feet, no closer than 14.5 feet from the western side yard. Right? That's what, 16,
Yes.
kind of by a foot and a half.
Yes, from 13. This
So
would be-
16,
yeah.
14.
Mhm.
okay?
Okay, and we close the record.
And move your exhibits to be part of the record.
Yes, please request exhibits to make part of the record, please.
Jim?
I would move that we grant a variance from section 28025D with respect to the aggregate side yard, so that the proposed addition is no closer than 14.5 feet from the western property line, and the aggregate side yard measurement is 25 feet, 9.5 inches.
Cora?
I would concur with that.
Pete?
I vote to deny. I don't see the hardship requirement to make it this much of a variance. I think you could pick that up on the interior.
Just say it's a good thing Noah's not here. I'm going to vote to approve it, approve the variance.
I'm going to vote to deny it also. I just think that it's not this board's privy to willy-nilly grant variances and special exceptions where there's really no great hardship to do it. I think that this could have been done with a 14-foot garage. That's just my personal feeling. But it passed still, 3-2.
3-2. Thank you. Thank you for your patience on this, too.
Thanks for your time.
Appeal 2874, the applicant, the owners of Chili's Restaurant, intends to reconstruct the building which was destroyed due to fire. Applicant seeks relief from the Radnor Township Sign Ordinance 280-116 by way of variance, a special exception pursuant to 280-101B1 or 2, or contends that the relief is permitted as a right, as follows. 1, 280-122C2 Sign height not to exceed 15 feet. The sign destroyed by fire was 21 feet 2 inches above grade. The proposed sign will be no higher than 18 feet 8 inches above grade. 2, 28122C2, maximum sign area for wall signs not to exceed 50 square feet. 3, 28122C3, applicant proposes a sign above the covered entrance area which complies with the height requirement. Applicant seeks relief from the requirement that it be placed no more than 14 inches from the base of the awning and that the letters be no more than 8 inches in height. Or in the alternative from 118 regarding distance from the wall. 4, 28122C9, applicant proposes an instructional sign on the side of the building which exceeds the height requirement of 6 feet above existing grade. 5, such other relief that may be required from the aforementioned sign ordinance consistent with the exhibits presented to the zoning board. This also was continued from February. Mr. Cornelia.
Thank you. Actually, that's been reduced, so I think there's only a couple issues before the board right now.
Which ones are we getting rid of?
Okay,
Start
I'll
at the
hand out
top.
a letter from Kevin first, all right? I think that explains some of the items. I sent a letter to Kevin asking him for clarification for some of the issues that were raised last time. Remember, there was an issue regarding illumination. That is off the board. There is, we're allowed to illuminate provided we comply with the codes, so we're not asking for any relief on that.
Well, that's not what I read. There was nothing about illumination in there, right?
I know. I never
Right.
asked for it, remember. It was raised by
Right.
someone.
You can say who it was.
Who's not
He
here
knows
this
we're talking.
evening.
He knows we're talking about him, I'm sure.
He's watching us on his
I was going to say, he's probably watching us, so.
from Florida.
Do I have to read this? Huh?
Yeah, it was just, I wanted to get some clarification on some of the issues, just so we're not wasting your time, on some of the things. And one was the illumination, because remember, that was, I didn't ask for the relief, but it was raised, so we just got clarification on the illumination issue. We're not asking for relief on illumination. The next one was the awning. Was it an awning sign or not? It is an awning sign, but we still need the relief on the height of the Chili's letters. So that's one area of relief that we would need. That, if you notice at A14, the height of the letters are 8 inches, and the code says the letters are going to be 2 feet 11 and a half inches, which...
Let me ask you a question. If I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought the lettering on an awning sign needed to be, as the letter says, on the vertical face.
And it is.
But it wasn't before.
It wasn't before.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of...
Exactly.
That's not the inference you just made.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, I didn't
you
mean
should
to
have
say
added,
that-
we changed it and moved it to the front.
We got the interpretation,
Okay.
it has to be on the face, and
Okay.
we changed it
All
and we
right.
put it on the face.
Now I'm okay.
Okay. And then...
Do you have the new pictures?
So we do need the relief on the height. And I'll show you, I have exhibits, I'll
Okay.
hand them up.
Okay, good.
And I believe that on the height of the wall sign, again, we're non-conforming. Remember, the building burnt down, and we're no higher than the old sign, and also we're less square footage than the old sign. So, I asked for it in the application. I don't know if it was necessary or not to ask for it, because now I think the board's interpreting nonconformities, that you don't need a special exception anymore, that, it's done administratively. I will mark as and the other one is the projecting sign, and remove. Okay, we're not asking for a projecting sign, so we don't have to worry about that. We put the instructional sign. What happened was the instructional sign, in addition to being an instructional sign, was a projecting sign, as Mr. Kuczynski points out in his letter. So we no longer have made it an instructional sign, or no longer have made it a projecting sign. It's still an instructional sign if we keep it there, and we have it above the to-go door. And in Kevin's letter, it also says if we move the chili from it, then it's instructional. So all that sign's going to say is to go. It will not say, won't have the chili insignia, and matter of fact, you'll see it on the exhibit that I'm going to hand up. And then finally, I'll mark as A16. A16 is a 2-page sheet. And then A17 is just a site plan that shows it just shows the street frontage of the building. And we're in compliance. We're not asking for any relief on the total sign
So what are you
area.
asking for?
So we're not asking for relief on the total
Okay.
sign area. We're asking for relief on, the relief that we're asking for is the height of the chili on the awning sign. Remember, we moved it down, so it now complies. It's now an awning
Is
sign.
that the 280-122C2?
C3.
Number 1?
C3, I believe.
280-122 is number 3.
C3,
So it's number 3 you're asking for?
yes.
That's all? What else?
And then on the instructional sign, we're asking the height of the instructional sign. We have it over the door. Again, lower than the old chili sign, but it's over the door. An instructional sign is supposed to only be 6 feet. And in this case, it's over the door. Do you know the height? There, Mike. Do we have a plan that shows the height? I know it's lower than the chili. Oh, here it is. You can show it on here. It's like 18 feet. Yeah, it's less than the chili and less than what was originally there. So I'm going to mark that as A16, which now shows the signs that we're requesting. But we only need relief on 2 items. We're only asking for, well, dependent on how the board determines the square footage and the former height to be. In my understanding is the relief that we would need would be for the height of the instructional sign. It is an instructional sign. The chili has been removed. And we would also need relief on the height of the chili letters.
But you have amended your application to pick up any other relief necessary for the sign.
I did. I have.
Package. So the board disagrees with the relief that you still have before the board, whatever relief you need to approve the package you're going to hand up.
That's correct.
I'm just trying to understand the way it's written here on the advertisement. It says 280-122C2, sign height not to exceed 15 feet. You want relief from that one?
Well, I don't think we need relief on that
Okay.
because remember, that's the wall sign and it's lower than the sign that burnt down.
Okay. And then the says no higher than 18 inches, so that's okay. The next one is 280-122C2, maximum sign area for the wall sign not to exceed 50 square feet.
And again, the previous wall sign
Okay.
was 67.4 square feet, and we're less than that now. We're at 53.8 square feet.
Okay. All right. And 280-122C3, applicant proposes a sign above the covered entrance area which complies with height requirement. Applicant seeks relief from the requirement to be placed no more than 14 inches from the base of the awning. Well, that's not
Yeah,
there. 'cause
that's not even needed.
That's not there. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Which one? What do you?
We're asking.
Which one of these numbers are you after?
Okay.
That's what I got
Yeah.
confused about.
This is what, if you look at A14, which I had handed that up before last, going through the app, what we needed. My understanding, at least on the way the board is determining things now, is on the wall sign, we really don't need any relief because we're less than the previous nonconformity.
Okay. So we're crossing off wall sign, right? That's a 280-122C2.
Correct. I mean,
That's out.
because that's my understanding now is the board is saying that if you're less than the existing nonconformity, I included it in there. This was before, I probably didn't need to include it or should have gotten interpretation beforehand, but my understanding is that the board has now determined. I put it in there just in case.
Okay.
I
But the
think
board-
the board also, I mean, Jenkintown Towing, I think, technically granted variances based on nonconformities, and we have destroyed signs. The township is not taking the position that the amortization provision is to be enforced. So, I mean, we can just simply say by virtue of the prior nonconformity, relief is
That's okay.
granted from
Okay.
this section.
Okay. And,
So-
and let's do the next one, 28122C2, sign area. We're okay with that one?
We're okay with that.
Okay. All right, awning sign.
Awning sign, we need that C3,
You need the height of the letters.
height of the letters.
Okay. And
We
it's
don't
8
need-
inches and it's 2 foot,
We-
11 and a half you're looking for, okay.
Correct.
And it's not, the distance from the base, that's not.
That's gone now.
That's gone
because-
also, right?
Yeah,
And the
because
instructional sign height, you need,
we need height.
so, the requirement's 6.
By
You had
17.
21, and now you're down to 17.3.
Although it's less than the prior sign. Where that is above the.
All right, so you're
above
looking
the
for relief
door.
from 28122C3 and 28122C9.
That is correct.
Okay. And our determination that the other ones are
Protected by nonconformity.
technically non-conforming, but since they were destroyed, they're kind of in there.
Correct.
Any questions on the board? Which one?
Just the last, the 2 provisions.
They're asking for 2 provisions, 28122C3, that's the height of the letters. From 8 inches, they're looking for 211 and a half. Okay? And the instructional sign is 28122C9. The height of that sign from the ground is requirement 6 feet. What was existing was 21.2, and now they're proposing 17.3 and a half. The other ones, the awning sign is gone because they had it on top, if you remember last time, and now it's where it belongs in the front,
No, but they're
on the
saying
vertical
they're okay
facing,
with
so
that.
that's not an issue any longer.
They're saying it's okay with the height.
And the sign area and the sign height, they're kind of pre-existing. So, we're kind of saying, it's our determination, if we so decide, is that they were there and they were pre-existing and they were non-conforming, and he's not really increasing it any. In fact, he's shrinking it, so. Okay? Questions? Peter? Jim? No? Do you have anything else? Do you have anything? Right, that's why we're looking at those other couple, right? Do you have anything else yet?
Yeah, I just, I don't know if we swore Mr. Longley in last time.
Last time?
Yeah,
Did I swear you in?
yes, you did.
Okay, just state your name then.
Mike Longley, Longley.
Kevin, are you understanding the same things we just went over?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Mike, and just tell the board what your position is with Chili's.
I'm the head of construction development for our company, and my job's to make sure that we can rebuild the building and get it approved properly and so forth.
And this building burnt down, I believe, in August of last year?
That's correct.
And we presented exhibits showing the former signs and the size of the former signs and the height of the former signs, correct?
That's correct.
And the signs that we're proposing here are all lower than the former signs
That's
that we had. And the only difference is we do, and you've reviewed the exhibits are true and correct?
Yes.
Now, a couple items, you heard that we need relief on 2 items. First is on the to-go sign. We've removed the Chili's from the face of that to-go sign. You had a prior exhibit that showed a chili on that to-go sign. We've now removed that, and you'll see on the second page of A16, it just says to-go now on that sign. And what we're asking for is for that to be no higher than 17 feet, 3.5 inches. Could you tell why you need it that height and why you need it in that area? This is on the side, which would be on the eastern side of the building. So it would not even be visible from the street.
That's correct.
Right, go ahead.
We use that sign to direct people to that dedicated entrance for, we don't want them, they're going to pick up their food. We want them to be able to go to that dedicated entrance to help with the flow of traffic through the parking lot.
And you want them to know where it is?
Yeah, we don't want them circulating around the parking lot looking for where to go to.
And that's not a takeout window. You
No.
walk in and
Yeah.
pick up where to go. And then on the letters on the awning sign, I mean, as we said, the code requires 2 feet, 11.5 inch letters. We're requesting letters to be, or I'm sorry, the code requires 8 inches. We're requesting 2 feet, 11 and a half inches. They're requesting 35 and a half inch. And the reason for that?
Here again, we want to identify for the consumer that's out on Lancaster as quickly as possible where we're located, for they can make the proper turning movements into our location. Lancaster, as you all know, is a busy road.
Any questions for the board?
Is the freestanding sign remaining on Lancaster?
Yes.
Yes, we're just going to reface it with the new logo.
Oh, I got that one for you. The sign package for which you're seeking relief is now governed by A16. That is the sign package that's before this board. The freestanding sign is not an issue because that's there and you're just using it, correct?
That's correct. We're just putting new faces on it.
But that's not,
No.
we're not passing on that at all. Or the board is not passing on that.
I guess my second question would be, what is preventing you from, on the to-go sign, removing the awning and making it lower?
We're just trying to protect the patrons as they enter that door. We don't want water running down their backs.
On the awning sign?
Yeah, well, I think you said on the...
Well, I'm saying, what height is really necessary here? You know, do you really need the awning?
Well...
I'm sorry, the awning or the...
He's talking about the awning.
I'm sorry, the
to-go.
red and green awning that I assume that's an awning right here.
Yeah, he's talking about the to-go.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
Slide that up so it shows.
And is it an awning? I guess is that I probably should get that answered first.
Yes.
So it's a canopy type.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's just to provide shelter.
And just have it provide shelter for customers, the awning?
Yes.
There.
Nick, this may not be connected with your application. Did you ever think about maintaining or increasing the seating capacity there?
No, we didn't. We actually reduced the square footage of the building because we were required to rebuild on the existing foundation. And we couldn't utilize all of the foundation, so the actual square footage of the building shrunk.
What about parking? Does it comply with the required?
It's a current non-conforming use, but it stays in, evident, according to the building department, it complies, yes.
We're not adding any more seats.
That's correct.
But that's good for information, but that's, the board can't pass on that.
I understand, but...
Something should come up later and so forth. The board just isn't addressing that today.
Yeah, I understand, but it is a new building coming, people may be thinking that we allowed you to have more parking or, space there within the building. So we want to make sure, let public know.
Yeah, you're not reducing the number of parking spaces, correct? And you're not increasing the number of seats.
Okay, Nick?
That's all I would have.
Okay. Anyone in the audience have anything that they want to add? Want to move that we...
Yeah, I would request exhibits to be part of the record, please.
Okay. Peter?
Help me understand what the sign on the side, what's the difficulty with lowering that sign?
It would project down into the awning, or I'd have to take the awning off. And at that point, somebody enters the building during inclement weather, they're going to be, getting rained on.
Yeah, one thing to remember, too, this is not visible from the street. This is really, it's more directional to instruct them where to go. And as I said, too, it is lower than the prior sign that was on, the prior wall sign that's on the front.
Brad, yes.
Were you referring to the side sign?
It's a side sign.
Yeah, I don't remember there being a sign on that side.
Oh, not on that side.
Right, okay. What's the difference between putting up a similar structure that you have in the front on that side? So So just put a flat piece of metal that projects out the same distance, thereby lowering the sign.
I think it might prove to be a problem with driving, because that's open there.
It's still the same height. I mean, you have an
Yeah.
awning there. So either way, I'm saying the height is still the same for the awning. I'm just saying that the projection that the awning, the rationale for the sign being so high is because you have this cloth awning that's going up so high. If you don't have that, but you still have the coverage for weather, it seems, again, we can lower the height of the wall sign and be fine.
Yeah, the concern there is driving too, when cars come around for safety purposes. I think this doesn't.
But I'm not saying the same projection as the front. I'm saying you use the same projection as the awning that's on the side. Basically saying don't use the cloth awning, use a structure.
Well, if the purpose of the awning is to protect the pedestrian, the person walking in, why not remove the red awning and put the to-go sign down below?
It's a one-piece awning. The red, the white, and the green is all a single piece of canvas. I mean, I'm sure they sew it together, but. So you're saying eliminate this
If you don't want to eliminate the awning altogether, then eliminate 60% of it so that you can have the to-go sign where the red part is. Then you'd be in compliance.
It's not enough room.
Okay, all right.
It's no big deal. This isn't an issue for me.
I'd rather remove the sign than remove the awning. I don't want to, I've had too many buildings where the water runs down the face of the window and stuff, and it's just a maintenance nightmare. Yeah, I can put a, people just,
Yeah, well, you can.
Any other questions? No. Okay, I'll do this one. Huh? You said
Yeah, he already
you'd rather
asked.
take the sign down as opposed to the awning. Okay. I'll do this one. I would give a variance, grant the variance for the awning sign 28122C3 as well as the instructional sign 28122C8 and the existing C9. I'm sorry if I said 8. The existing wall sign is, I think, is pre-existing, and therefore, it's in my opinion, in the board's opinion, I think the fact that they are reducing it in a lot of instances that they're okay with that. You don't need to make a determination of them. Jim?
I would agree.
Peter?
Is this a package deal, or do we deal with parts? Do we deal with parts? Because I would concur on everything except I just don't see the need for the instructional sign to be at that height.
Okay, well, then that's the way you would vote.
Yes.
You know, the 28122C3, you would grant the variance, but you would
Right.
not grant the variance for the instructional sign of 28122C9.
Correct.
Okay. Brad?
I agree. That's what I would grant too.
I agree with what you suggested, all three items.
All right, it passed 3-2. Seems like 3-2 is our number tonight.
thank you.
Can I have a minute for the next meeting?
We're going to take a quick 5-minute break. Okay, we're all back? Okay. Are you ready, Mr. Cornelius? Okay, I can start? Thank you. Appeal 2875, applicant Gail W. Dillon, property located at 421 Meadowbrook Avenue, St. David's, Pennsylvania, and zoned R2 residential. Applicant seeks a special exception pursuant to Section 280-101A2 of the Code to construct an addition to the existing carriage house pursuant to Section 280-101A2, which addition will not exceed 50% of the current non-conforming use. In the alternative, applicant seeks a variance or contends that the release is permitted as a right.
Okay, thank you. Norma?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
And state your name for the record, please.
Gail Dillon, Dillon.
What we have here, we have a house that was built around 1884 with a carriage house. The carriage house has been occupied continuously, probably for 70, 80 years as a carriage house. What's going to occur now is that Mrs. Dillon is going to move into the carriage house, and her daughter's family is going to move into the main house. Prior to that, the carriage house was rented. In order to do this also, Mrs. Dillon has a lot, as you see on one of the plans, a separate lot, is separately deeded, is separate tax parcel, but she's going to merge those two lots. So in effect, it's going to prevent development of a separately deeded lot. The reason it's going to be merged too is because of impervious coverage. And so we had to merge them to comply with the impervious coverage requirements. So those lots will now be merged, so it's going to reduce any further building or new home or anything on that property as well. So what'll happen, if this board grants relief, we still have to go to and get the lots merged by the township. I think that may be done administratively now, though. I don't think we have to actually go to land development on it, but that'll be up to the township to make that determination. I have marked as an additional exhibit A8 that I'll hand up now, then I'll go through the exhibits. Gail, first, I've marked as A2 the deed, and that's was to you and your husband. Your husband passed away, last couple of years. Okay. And you still own the property? You own the property. Okay.
Yesterday.
A3, that's just a letter from Mr. Kaczynski saying that we need a special exception under 101A2, and that we can't, a special exception that we're not increasing by more than 50%, which in this case we're not. We actually determined what the square footage was, and the addition will be, or the nonconformity will be increased by 50% of the prior nonconformity. A4 is the site plan. It's not a big deal. Okay. All right. I'm late. Yeah, I'm just running all over the place. I'm sorry. Okay. A4, we're just discussing, she had additional pictures that didn't make it into my file. A4 is the site plan, and you'll see the existing home. And unfortunately, you don't have a picture of it, but maybe you can describe it, Gail, a little bit.
The house sits sideways on the lot. It has a fence around it on all four sides. It is unique in its own way because it faces its sister up the street on Upland Way.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's my fault. Go ahead.
How much more do you want here?
You got it.
Okay. The house sits sideways on the lot. There are two ponds on the lot. One is being taken over by Mother Nature. That's the one in the back.
And we're showing on this plot plan, A4, actually showing the two separate lots, premises A and premises B. And if this relief is granted, actually we'll be removing that line, and these lots will be merged into one.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The lot is surrounded by a fence. Let's see, what can I say about it?
Okay, and in the back here, you have the carriage house, and it's the second floor of the carriage house where it's been, a tenant has resided,
Yes.
For forever.
Ever since I've been in there.
And on the bottom floor is just garage space.
Correct.
All right. Now, I have A5, and actually perhaps I should replace that with A8, because I think A8 probably shows better.
So we should just write with A, on A5, replace with A8.
Right. And actually, excuse me, John, maybe, I think A5 is a little different. Let me just pull out A5. But then A8, I think, is the one that you're really more concerned about. A5 just shows the existing, and it shows existing first floor plan, and existing second floor plan. You'll notice on A5, the existing first floor is a garage. And the second floor actually shows the living space. And then A5 shows living space is 868 square feet. And then A8 shows both the first floor, which remains a garage, and the second floor, which increases the living space by 430 square feet, which is less than 50% of the existing, which is 868 square feet.
So A5 is existing.
A5 is existing. And A8 is existing plus the addition. And A7 just shows the carriage house itself. Can you talk a little bit about, you have Ann Ledger's the architect on this. Can you talk a little bit about what the facade's going to be and the addition?
I would like to keep it looking like the main house, which has cedar shake shingle on it. I will switch it to the cedar impressions, which is artificial, or ASAC, something like that. The color will change slightly because it'll match the front house also. We're going to keep the windows looking the same like the front house, which means they'll change. They won't have the lights on the bottom. But I want to keep it looking as much like the front house as possible, so there's no interruption. Make it look proper, like it belongs there.
Yeah, and also, we've spoken to Mr. Anderson, who's here, one of the neighbors, and we talked about planning, and I believe they were maybe cypress leaves, is we're talking?
I didn't hear the specific type of.
Okay, but I know
a tree.
Mark was mentioning that, I think, yeah. To provide additional buffer for Mr. Anderson in this area here where I'm pointing.
Mr. Anderson's north, right? Northwest
He's
of
north.
the
Yes,
subject?
he's north.
Directly behind us.
How about Mr. Rhodes?
I spoke to Mr. Rhodes today, and he seems fine. He said he has enough coverage. Yeah, I think he had planted his own trees. He just wanted confirmation of how large the addition was going to be.
How about Ms. Wickham and Mr. Ross? I just wondered if they had any, is there anything to work out with them?
I think it was more
Why don't we
curious.
go through, and then we'll call people from the audience one time.
And that's all I would have on this, and just request the exhibits be part of the record, please.
So
Any questions?
A6 and A8 are your governing documents?
A6 and A8.
Actually, it's really A6 is the governing.
Yeah, A6 is really,
Right.
well, A6 shows the addition, yes.
Yeah, because if you change the interior, if you move the bedroom wall 6 inches, I don't think that concerns.
But
the
again,
board.
remember, it can be no more than 50%, so that's
Yeah.
why, to some extent, A8 is important too, just so they know how big unlike this case where you're talking about setbacks, you're talking about how big an addition it can be.
Okay, any other questions or anything? Anyone else? Anyone in the audience? If you have something you want to put into the record, otherwise it'll go exactly the way it is. So if you have any concerns, anyone in the audience that you want done before this is built, you need to speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, you need to get sworn in, please.
Support, yes.
You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and whole truth. State your name for the record, please.
Thomas Ross, ROSS, 409 Meadowbrook Avenue, next door, and I just would say I have absolutely no objection, fully supportive. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Did someone say there were some screening that someone had?
Yeah, I told Steve Anderson, who's here, that we would provide some screening for him, because he's the property right behind where the addition would go.
And will that be a condition of approval?
We have no objection with that. I guess Yeah, I don't know how you're going to condition it. I'm a little concerned about the language, of course, but.
Yeah, what is the screening? Is that?
Yeah, what's the screening, yeah.
Has that been worked out?
Trees that will cover the fencing, and so he won't see the building too much.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I love the back of his house, but that's all right.
Mr. Anderson, do you have any stipulations you want to put in this? Or are you okay, whatever they decide to do, you're okay with?
I think we just need to have enough, just as Gail was saying, enough trees that's able to cover.
You want to please come up and be sworn in, please? Just so it's official. Thank you very much.
Okay.
You need to.
If you'll raise your right hand, you do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and the truth, nothing but the truth.
I swear.
Okay, and state your name.
Steve Anderson.
And your address?
Stephen Anderson, I live on 418 St. David's Road. Okay, good. The only thing that I would want to add is actually what Gail already said, is to have enough trees to provide adequate coverage that would be the entire length of the new addition. So it doesn't need to go beyond the addition, it just needs to cover the site of the.
Can you show on the plan?
Yes, right,
where you're going to, where you wish these to be?
So it would be right here. I believe it's here. I'm not sure. Yeah, new addition. I don't know where the other trees are. There are trees
This is the
over
big blue spruce, right?
the big one right here. So it would be
To the left of that.
yeah to the left, which would be west. About I don't know what the dimensions are of this.
Do you care where the trees are, that you want them joining your property line? Do you want them close to the building, or just appropriate screening?
We're flexible either way. It's whatever is consistent with the other trees that are kind of lined up there.
Okay, and you agree to that it'll be consistent with what's there and
Exactly.
to work with Mr. Anderson and to make sure that's right.
Yeah.
It's hard for us or for the township to go and say, well, yeah, you need just, okay? Just so there's an understanding between the
Exactly.
three that they're going to do it to your satisfaction. Okay.
Excellent. Mr. Chairman, one thing to consider is the height of the trees coming in, because that could play a significant impact, whether, if we have mature trees there, and the expectation is mature trees, but the township trying to enforce this could be problematic if we don't talk about the size of the trees.
They're not going to be able to take it. If they take any kind of trees down, heritage trees, they got to go in front of the shade trees.
No, I think he's
The
saying
screening
plan.
trees going in, are they going to be 8 foot tall?
The ones they're putting in,
Evergreens.
or they'll grow to greater than 8 foot tall.
Or
The size at which they're being put in.
Yeah, 8-foot tall trees are really expensive, but.
Yeah, I don't.
We have Leyland cypress, and they grow very, very rapidly. Within 3 or 4 years, they'll exceed.
I don't think they're going to put anything in eight greater than 8 feet. That would be a lot of money, I think. I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, they have an understanding, and I'm okay with the understanding.
And when Mark has to.
All right.
So that'll be an understanding.
Yeah, right. Right. Okay. Anyone else?
It's 6 foot.
Okay. Ready to vote? Brad, do you want to take this one?
Sure, I move that we grant the special exception under section 280-101A2.
Peter?
I concur.
Jim?
I concur as well.
I do concur.
I also. We didn't go 3-2. Thank you.
Thank you.
No further business. The meeting is adjourned.